Jake Sullivan stood by the big window of the space station Aurora. He watched a strange ship moving slowly toward them. The ship was silver and smooth, unlike anything humans had ever built. It looked like it was made from liquid metal that had been shaped into a perfect oval. Jake was the commander of this mission. He had been chosen because he was good at talking to people and solving problems. But today felt different. Today, humans would meet aliens face to face for the first time. The alien ship docked with a soft sound. Jake could hear the metal connecting through the walls of the station. His heart beat faster. After months of radio messages back and forth across space, they were finally going to meet. Dr. Lisa Martinez walked up to Jake. She was the team's expert on alien life. She had studied everything they knew about these aliens called Zephyrians. Lisa looked nervous too, but she tried to hide it. "Remember what I told everyone," Lisa said to Jake. "These aliens are very different from us. They don't like emotions. They think feelings are stupid and weak. They only care about facts and logic." Jake nodded. He had heard this many times in their meetings. The Zephyrians had built their whole society around being smart and logical. They got rid of emotions thousands of years ago. They thought emotions made people do dumb things. "They also don't understand compliments," Lisa continued. "If you tell them they look nice, they will think you are making a scientific observation. They won't understand that you are being kind." Captain Ryan Brooks walked into the room. He was the leader of their whole mission. Ryan was older than Jake and had more experience with important meetings. He looked calm, but Jake could see worry in his eyes. "Are we ready?" Ryan asked. "The Zephyrians will be here in 10 minutes. Jake looked around the conference room. Everything was perfect. The table was clean and shiny. The chairs were arranged in exact rows. The humans had worked hard to make everything look professional. They wanted to make a good first impression. Other crew members came into the room. There was Dr. Martinez, Engineer Sam Parker, Communications Officer Amy Chun, and Security Chief Ben Torres. Each person had been chosen for this mission because they were the best at their jobs. The door opened with a soft hiss. The Zephyrian delegation walked in. Jake had seen pictures of Zephyrians before, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall, maybe 7 feet high. Their skin was silver and seemed to glow with its own light. Their eyes were large and purple, like beautiful jewels. They moved with perfect grace, like dancers. The leader of the Zephyrians stepped forward. She was the most beautiful of all of them. Her silver skin caught the light from the room's lamps. Her purple eyes looked at everything with sharp intelligence. "I am Ambassador Cathara," she said. Her voice was musical, but had no emotion in it. "I speak for the Zephyrian Council. We come to discuss trade and knowledge sharing between our peoples." Captain Brooks stood up. "Welcome to our station, Ambassador. I am Captain Ryan Brooks. We are honored by your visit." The formal meeting began. Both sides had prepared speeches. They talked about trade routes, sharing technology, and keeping peace between their peoples. The Zephyrians spoke like computers, giving facts and numbers. The humans tried to match their style, but it felt strange and cold. Jake watched Ambassador Cathara during the meeting. She was clearly very smart. She asked good questions and gave detailed answers. But there was something sad about her. She seemed empty, like a beautiful statue that could talk but could not feel. After 2 hours, Captain Brooks called for a break. "We will serve coffee and light food," he announced. "Please take time to relax and speak informally." The humans and Zephyrians broke into small groups. Jake found himself near the big window that looked out at Earth. The planet looked beautiful from space, with its blue oceans and white clouds whirling around it. Ambassador Cathara walked over to the window. She stood next to Jake and looked down at Earth. For the first time, Jake saw something like wonder in her purple eyes. "Your world is very diverse," she said. "Our planet is mostly the same everywhere. We made it that way for efficiency. But yours has many different environments." Jake looked at her profile as she stared at Earth. The light from the planet made her silver skin glow even brighter. Her eyes reflected the blue and white of the world below. Despite what Dr. Martinez had said about compliments, Jake felt moved by her obvious interest in his home world. "Earth is special," Jake said. "Every place is different. We have hot deserts, cold mountains, deep oceans, and green forests. Each place has its own beauty." Cathara nodded. "Beauty is an interesting concept. We define it as mathematical perfection and functional efficiency. But your planet's beauty seems to come from chaos and variety." Jake smiled. "Maybe that's what makes it beautiful. The unexpected parts." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, both looking at Earth. Jake felt like this was the first real conversation he had had with any of the Zephyrians. Away from the formal meeting, Cathara seemed more like a person and less like a speaking computer. The break was ending. Other people were moving back to the conference table. Jake knew he should go back to his seat, but he wanted to say something. To Cathara first. Something real and honest, not just diplomatic words. He looked at her one more time. The starlight and Earth's glow made her look almost magical. Her curiosity about his world touched something in his heart. Before he could stop himself, the words came out naturally and simply. "You look beautiful today," Jake said. The words hung in the air between them like a spell. Jake watched as Cathara's entire body went completely still. Her large purple eyes grew even wider, and she stared at him with an expression he had never seen on a Zephyrian face before. For a moment, Jake was afraid he had made a terrible mistake. Dr. Martinez had warned them about saying things like this. Maybe he had just ruined the entire diplomatic mission with 4 simple words. But then something amazing happened. Cathara's rigid posture began to soften. Her shoulders, which had been perfectly straight, started to curve slightly. Her mouth, which had been a thin line, opened just a little. And her eyes, those beautiful purple eyes, began to fill with liquid that sparkled like tiny stars. I do not understand," she whispered. Her voice was different now. It was not the flat, emotionless tone she had used all day. There was something new in it, something that sounded almost like music. Jake took a step closer. He was worried about her. "Are you okay? Did I say something wrong?" Cathara pressed her hand to her chest, right over her heart. "There is a sensation," she said slowly. "Something is happening inside me. My chest feels warm. My breathing has changed. And these ... She touched her cheek where the starlight tears were falling. "What are these?" Jake realized he was seeing something impossible. According to everything they knew about Zephyrians, they could not feel emotions. Their ancestors had changed their bodies thousands of years ago to remove all feelings. But here was Cathara, clearly experiencing something very emotional. "Those are tears," Jake said gently. "Humans make them when we feel strong emotions. Happy tears, sad tears, tears of wonder." "Emotions," Cathara repeated the word like she was tasting something new. "We learned about these in our historical studies. Our ancestors had them before the Great Modification, but we have not experienced them for 3,000 years. She looked at her hands as if they belonged to someone else. "When you said those words, something woke up inside me. I felt ... double quotes. She paused, trying to find the right words. "I felt seen. Not just observed or analyzed, but truly seen." "Is this what you call happiness?" Jake nodded. "I think so." "How do you feel now?" "Different," she said. "Everything looks different. The starlight seems brighter. Your planet below us seems more wonderful. Even your face." She stopped and looked at him with new eyes. "I can see kindness in your expression. Before, I only saw biological features. Now I see the person behind them. Other people in the room." We're starting to notice that something was happening. Dr. Martinez looked over from across the room and saw Cathara's tears. Her face went pale with worry. "Jake," Dr. Martinez called out. "Is everything all right?" Cathara quickly wiped her eyes. But the tears kept coming. "I should return to my delegation," she said. "But I do not want to." "Is this what you call wanting?" "Yes," Jake said. "Wanting is a feeling. You want to stay and experience more of this." Captain Brooks walked over with a concerned expression. Behind him, the other Zephyrians were watching with what looked like alarm. They had never seen one of their own people crying before. "Ambassador," Captain Brooks said carefully, "are you experiencing any discomfort? Do you need medical attention?" Cathara looked at the captain, then at Jake, then back at her own people. The other Zephyrians were standing in a perfect line, their faces showing no expression at all. They looked like beautiful statues. But now that she had experienced emotion, they seemed empty to her. "I am experiencing something your people call emotion," she announced to everyone in the room. Commander Sullivan spoke words that activated dormant pathways in my brain. "I can feel." The room went completely silent. The other Zephyrians exchanged glances with each other. Dr. Martinez grabbed her medical scanner and walked quickly toward them. "May I scan you?" Dr. Martinez asked. "I want to make sure you are not in any danger." Cathara nodded. The medical scanner beeped and hummed as it read her vital signs. Dr. Martinez looked at the results with amazement. "This is incredible," she said. "Parts of your brain that were completely inactive are now lighting up like a Christmas tree. Areas that control emotional processing, empathy, and social bonding are all active." The lead Zephyrian from the delegation stepped forward. His name was Counselor Victor, and he was Cathara's assistant. "This is most concerning," he said in his flat voice. "The ambassador appears to be malfunctioning. We should return to our ship immediately for corrective procedures." "No," Cathara said firmly. It was the first time Jake had heard her refuse anything. "I am not malfunctioning. I am working better than I ever have before. For the first time in my life, I feel complete." She turned to Jake. "You humans live with these emotions every day. How do you function? How do you think clearly when you feel so much?" Jake smiled. "We don't just function despite our emotions. We function because of them. Emotions help us understand what is important. They help us care about things. They make us want to help each other and build beautiful things." "Beautiful things?" Cathara repeated. "Yes, I think I understand beauty now. It is not just mathematical perfection. It is something that makes you feel wonder and joy." The other Zephyrians were becoming more agitated. They whispered to each other in their own language, which sounded like music played by computers. Counselor Victor spoke again. "Ambassador, you are exhibiting primitive behaviors. These emotions were removed from our species because they caused wars, inefficiency, and irrational decisions. You must allow us to correct this malfunction." "It is not a malfunction," Cathara said, her voice growing stronger. "It is an awakening. I have been asleep my whole life, and now I am finally awake." She looked around the room at all the humans. "I want to understand more. I want to learn about joy, sadness, love, fear, hope. I want to know what it means to really live instead of just existing." Dr. Martinez was still studying her scanner readings. "The neural activity is stable," she reported. "There is no sign of damage or malfunction. Her brain is simply accessing areas that were dormant." Jake felt a mix of emotions himself. He was amazed by what was happening, but also worried. If Cathara's own people thought she was broken, what would happen to her? What would happen to the peace talks? Cathara, he said gently, what do you want to do? She looked at him with her new emotional eyes. I want to learn, she said. I want to feel everything. I want to understand what it means to be truly alive. Will you teach me? The question hung in the air. Jake realized that his simple compliment had changed everything, not just for Cathara, but possibly for both of their species. He had no idea what would happen next, but he knew he could not abandon her now. Yes, he said, I will help you learn. The next few hours changed everything. Dr. Martinez ran every test she could think of on Cathara. The results were amazing and scary at the same time. Parts of the Zephyrian's brain that had been dark for thousands of years were now bright with activity. Look at this, Dr. Martinez said to Jake and Captain Brooks. She showed them the brain scans on her computer screen. These areas control emotions, creativity, and social bonding. In normal Zephyrians, they are completely shut down. But in Cathara, they are working perfectly. Jake stared at the colorful brain images. So she really can feel emotions now? It appears so, Dr. Martinez said. Your compliment somehow triggered a cascade effect. It opened pathways that were closed but not destroyed. It is like turning on lights in a house that has been dark for years. Captain Brooks looked worried. What does this mean for our mission? The other Zephyrians are very upset. They keep asking us to fix her. In the next room, they could hear the Zephyrian delegation having a heated discussion. Well, as heated as Zephyrians could get. Their voices were still flat and emotionless, but they were talking much faster than normal. Cathara sat in the medical bay, touching her face and exploring her new feelings. Every few minutes, she would smile or frown or look surprised. It was like watching a child discover the world for the first time. Jake, she called out when she saw him enter the room. I have been thinking about what you said, about beauty coming from unexpected things. I think I understand now. She stood up and walked to the window. Before, when I looked at your planet, I saw water, land, and atmosphere. I measured temperatures and analyzed chemical compositions. But now, I see something more. I see ... life. I see a world that is alive and growing and changing. Jake joined her at the window. That is exactly right. Beauty is not just about how things look. It is about how they make you feel. Feel. Cathara repeated the word like it was precious. I am still learning this. Sometimes the feelings are strong, and I do not know what to do with them. Is this normal? Very normal, Jake said. Humans spend their whole lives learning to understand their emotions. It takes practice. Dr. Martinez walked over with more test results. Cathara, I need to ask you something important. Are you in any pain? Any discomfort? Cathara thought for a moment. No, I feel ... more alive than I have ever felt. But I am confused about something. Why did my ancestors remove these feelings? They make everything more interesting, more meaningful. Your history books say they caused problems, Jake said. Wars, bad decisions, inefficiency. But they also created art, love, and kindness, Cathara said. I have been reading about human history in your databases. Yes, emotions caused some wars, but they also caused people to sacrifice themselves to save others. They made people build beautiful things just because they wanted to share beauty with the world. The door opened, and Counselor Victor entered with 2 other Zephyrians. They looked at Cathara with expressions that might have been concern, if they could feel concern. Ambassador, Vector said, we have contacted the High Council. They are sending a medical ship to retrieve you. The doctors will be able to restore your proper functioning. Cathara's face changed. Jake saw fear in her eyes for the first time. Restore my functioning? You mean remove these feelings? Of course, Victor replied. The emotions are a malfunction. They will interfere with your judgment and decision-making abilities. You cannot serve as an ambassador in this condition. But I do not want to lose them, Cathara said. Her voice was small and scared. For the first time in my life, I feel complete. I feel real. Please do not take that away from me. Jake stepped forward. Wait, what if this is not a malfunction? What if this is evolution? All the Zephyrians looked at him with their flat stares. Explain, Victor said. Your ancestors removed emotions because they thought they were primitive, Jake said. But what if they were wrong? What if emotions are not a bug, but a feature? What if they are something that makes intelligence better, not worse? Dr. Martinez nodded. Jake is right. In humans, emotions help us make better decisions, not worse ones. They help us understand what is important. They motivate us to care about things beyond ourselves. Our society functions perfectly without emotions, another Zephyrian said. We have no wars, no crime, no inefficiency. But do you have happiness? Cathara asked. Do you have love? Do you have dreams? Do you have art that makes your heart sing? The question hung in the air. The Zephyrians did not answer. I have been thinking, Cathara continued. Our society is efficient, yes, but it is also empty. We exist, but we do not truly live. We solve problems, but we do not create beauty. We survive, but we do not thrive. Vector looked uncomfortable. These are dangerous thoughts, Ambassador. The High Council will not approve. Then maybe the High Council is wrong, Cathara said. It was the first time any of them had heard a Zephyrian question their leaders. Jake watched as the other Zephyrians exchanged glances. He thought he saw something in their eyes. Curiosity? Confusion? It was hard to tell. Cathara, Jake said gently. What do you want to do? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at her fellow Zephyrians. I want to go home, she said, but not to be fixed. I want to show our people what I have learned. I want to give them the choice to feel again. That is impossible, Victor said. The High Council will never allow it. And I will have to convince them, Cathara said. I will show them that emotions do not make us weak. They make us strong. They make us complete. Dr. Martinez was looking at her scanner again. There is something else, she said. The neural activity in Cathara's brain is still growing. The pathways are getting stronger, not weaker. Her emotional capacity is actually improving. What does that mean? Captain, Brooks asked. It means this change might be permanent, Dr. Martinez explained. And it might be contagious. All eyes turned to the other Zephyrians. Jake noticed that they were standing differently now. Less rigid. More ... Tumen-like. Contagious? Victor asked. Being around Cathara, seeing her emotional responses might be triggering dormant pathways in your brains too, Dr. Martinez said. You might all be starting to feel things. The room was silent. Jake watched as the Zephyrians looked at each other, then at themselves, then at Cathara. For the first time, he saw uncertainty in their faces. I think, one of them said slowly, I think I am beginning to understand what the ambassador means. When I look at her now, I feel ... something I have never felt before. What do you feel? Cathara asked gently. I feel ... concern. I am worried about you. I do not want them to take away what makes you happy. The words hit everyone like a thunderbolt. Another Zephyrian was feeling emotions. Jake realized they were witnessing something incredible, the awakening of an entire species. And it had all. Started with a simple compliment about beauty. What happens now? He asked. Cathara smiled through her tears. Now we go home, and we teach our people how to feel again. The next day brought bad news. A message arrived from the Zephyrian High Council. Captain Brooks read it aloud to the assembled humans and Zephyrians. Ambassador Kethara has been infected with a dangerous emotional virus. She must return immediately for emergency treatment. All delegation members will undergo screening and cleansing procedures. The diplomatic mission is suspended until this crisis is resolved. The room was quiet after Brooks finished reading. Jake looked at Kethara, who was sitting with her hands folded in her lap. She looked sad but determined. "They call it a virus," she said softly, "but it feels like waking up from a long, cold dream." 3 more Zephyrians had begun showing emotional responses overnight. They were confused and frightened, but also curious. They kept asking Kethara questions about feelings and what they meant. "What is this sensation when I think about going home?" One of them asked. "My chest feels heavy, and I do not want to leave." "That is called sadness," Kethara explained. "You are sad because you have found something beautiful here, and you do not want to lose it." Dr. Martinez had been monitoring all the Zephyrians. "The emotional awakening is spreading," she reported. "It is like their brains are remembering how to feel. Each person who experiences emotions makes it easier for the others." Counselor Vector was the only one who seemed immune. He watched his fellow Zephyrians with growing alarm. "This is exactly what our ancestors feared," he said. "Emotions are spreading like a disease. Soon our entire delegation will be compromised." "Compromised?" Jake asked. "Or improved?" "We will become unpredictable," Vector replied. "We will make decisions based on feelings instead of facts. We will become weak and chaotic, like ... like..." He paused, clearly trying not to insult the humans. "Like us?" Jake finished. "You think humans are weak and chaotic?" "I did not say that," Vector said, but his tone suggested he was thinking it. "Captain." Brooks stepped forward. "Counselor, with respect, humans have built a peaceful society. We have art, music, literature, and science. We explore the galaxy and make friends with other species. We do all this while experiencing emotions every day. But you also have wars and crime and inefficiency," Vector pointed out. "Yes," Brooks admitted, "but we also have love, joy, hope, and compassion. We have people who risk their lives to save strangers. We have scientists who work for years to cure diseases. We have artists who create beauty just to share it with the world." Kethara stood up. "I have been thinking about this all night," she said. "Our ancestors were not wrong to worry about emotions. Emotions can be dangerous. But they made a mistake. Instead of learning to control emotions, they eliminated them completely." She walked to the window and looked out at Earth. "Humans have strong emotions, but they also have wisdom. They have learned to use their feelings to make better decisions, not worse ones. They have learned to be logical and emotional at the same time." "That is impossible," Vector said. "Logic and emotion are opposites." "No," Jake said. "They work together. Logic tells us what we can do. Emotion tells us what we should do. Logic without emotion is cold and empty. Emotion without logic is chaos. But together, they make us complete." A new message arrived from the Zephyrian High Council. This one was even more urgent. The medical ship would arrive in 6 hours. All Zephyrians would be taken back for immediate treatment. "Treatment," Kethara said bitterly. "They want to cure us of being alive." The emotionally awakened Zephyrians gathered around her. They looked scared and confused, but also determined. "What can we do?" one of them asked. "If we return home, they will remove these feelings. But if we stay here, we will never see our families again." It was a terrible choice. Jake felt his heart breaking for them. They had just discovered what it meant to truly live, and now they had to choose between their new feelings and their old lives. "There might be another way," Jake said slowly. "What if you go back?" but not to be cured. What if you go back to teach? Teach? Cathara asked. Yes, show your people what you have learned. Show them that emotions make you stronger, not weaker. Show them that feeling is not a disease to be cured, but a gift to be embraced. Victor shook his head. The High Council will never listen. They will order the treatments immediately. Then we will have to prove them wrong, Cathara said. We will show them that we are still intelligent, still capable, still ourselves. We will show them that emotions have made us better, not worse. Doctor. Martinez was working on her computer. I might be able to help, she said. I have been studying the brain scans. I think I can create a report that shows how the emotional awakening has actually improved your cognitive abilities. Has it? Jake asked. Yes, Dr. Martinez said excitedly. Look at these results. The awakened Zephyrians are showing increased creativity, better problem-solving skills, and improved social intelligence. Emotions have not made them less intelligent. They have made them more intelligent. Cathara smiled. Then we have proof. We can show the High Council that emotions are not a weakness, but a strength. It will be dangerous, Victor warned. If you fail, they will not just remove your emotions. They will exile you from Zephyrian society forever. Then we will have. To succeed, Cathara said simply. The hours passed quickly. The awakened Zephyrians spent their time learning about emotions from the humans. They asked questions about love, fear, hope, and joy. They practiced smiling and laughing. They learned to cry when they were sad, and to hug when they were happy. Jake watched them with amazement. In just 2 days, they had gone from being cold and logical to being warm and alive. They were still intelligent, still capable, but now, they were also human in the best sense of the word. When the Zephyrian medical ship arrived, Cathara was ready. She stood tall and proud, her eyes bright with determination. I am going home, she told Jake. Not to be cured, but to cure my people of their emptiness. I am going to teach them how to feel again. What if they do not listen? Jake asked. Then I will keep trying, she said. Because what you gave me is too precious to lose. You taught me that beauty is not just something you see with your eyes. It is something you feel with your heart. She hugged him goodbye, something no Zephyrian had ever done before. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for seeing me as beautiful. Thank you for waking me up. Jake watched as she and the other awakened Zephyrians boarded their ship. He did not know what would happen next, but he knew they were brave to try. As the ship pulled away, Cathara appeared at one of the windows. She pressed her hand against the glass and smiled. Even from a distance, Jake could see the tears on her face, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of hope. The ship disappeared into the stars, carrying its precious cargo of newly awakened hearts back to a world that had forgotten how to feel. Jake stood at the window long after. They were gone, wondering if he would ever see Cathara again. But somehow he knew he would, because love, once awakened, is very hard to destroy. 1 year later, Jake stood in the same spot by the window of the Aurora station. But today was different. Today, he was not waiting for aliens to arrive. Today, he was going to meet an old friend. The year had been difficult. After Cathara left, there had been no word from the Zephyrian homeworld. The human diplomats sent messages, but received no replies. Many people thought the worst had happened. They thought Cathara and the other awakened Zephyrians had been punished for their emotions. Jake never lost hope. He believed that what they had shared was too strong to be destroyed. He believed that love and beauty, once discovered, could not be forgotten. Then, 3 days ago, a message arrived. It was from Cathara herself. The message was short but incredible. Dear Jake and friends, I am coming back. I am bringing others with me. We have much to tell you. The awakening has begun." Now Jake watched as a fleet of Zephyrian ships approached the station. Not just one ship, but dozens of them. They were different from the ships he remembered. These ships had colors painted on their hulls. They had decorative patterns and artistic designs. They looked like the ships of people who had learned to appreciate beauty. Captain Brooks joined Jake at the window. "Are you ready for this?" he asked. Jake nodded. "I have been ready for a year." The docking bay filled with Zephyrians, but they were not the same cold, logical beings who had visited before. These Zephyrians moved with joy and energy. They talked and laughed and smiled. They looked around with wonder and curiosity. And leading them all was Kethara. She had changed too. Her silver skin seemed brighter, more alive. Her purple eyes sparkled with happiness. When she saw Jake, her face lit up with the most beautiful smile he had ever seen. "Jake," she called out, running toward him. She threw her arms around him in a hug that lifted him off the ground. "You look beautiful today, too." Jake laughed and hugged her back. "I missed you," he said. "I was worried about you." "I missed you as well," she said, "but I had work to do. Important work." She stepped back and gestured to the crowd of Zephyrians behind her. "I want you to meet the awakened. We are Zephyrians who have chosen to feel again." Jake looked at the group in amazement. There were hundreds of them, all showing emotions on their faces. Some looked excited, some looked nervous, some looked happy, but all of them looked alive. "What happened?" Jake asked. "How did you convince them?" Kethara smiled. "It was not easy. When we returned home, the High Council ordered us to be treated. Immediately. They brought us to the medical center to have our emotions removed." "But you are still here," Jake said, "still feeling." "Yes, because something wonderful happened. As they were preparing to operate on us, other Zephyrians came to watch. They were curious about what we had experienced. They wanted to understand what emotions were like." She paused, her eyes bright with the memory. "And as they watched us, as they saw us crying and laughing and feeling, something began to wake up in them too. Just like what happened here on your station." Dr. Martinez had been listening to the conversation. "The emotional awakening spread, like ripples in a pond," Kethara confirmed. "The doctors who were supposed to cure us began to feel curious. The guards who were supposed to watch us began to feel sympathetic. The council members who were supposed to order the treatments began to feel doubt." Jake was amazed. "So they changed their minds?" "Not at first," Kethara said. "There was great debate. Some people wanted to stop the awakening. They were afraid of change, but others wanted to experience it for themselves. They wanted to know what it felt like to truly live." She looked around at her people with pride. The awakening could not be stopped. Every day more Zephyrians began to feel. They started to question why we had given up emotions in the first place. They started to see what we had lost. "But surely some people resisted?" Captain Brooks asked. "Yes," Kethara admitted. "About half of our population chose to keep the old ways. They moved to special cities where emotions are still forbidden. But the other half chose to awaken. We call ourselves the New Zephyrians." Jake watched as the awakened Zephyrians explored the station. They were touching things, smiling at the humans, looking at everything with wonder. It was like watching children discover the world for the first time. "We have so much to learn," Kethara continued. "We want to understand art and music and literature. We want to learn about love and friendship and hope. We want to create beautiful things, not just efficient things." Dr. Martinez was taking readings with her scanner. "The emotional development in all of them is remarkable," she reported. "They have maintained their intelligence while gaining emotional depth. It is like they are becoming super intelligent, not less intelligent." That is exactly what happened. said a new voice. Jake turned to see another Zephyrian approaching. This one was older, with silver hair and kind eyes. "This is Council Leader Zethaerin," Cathara introduced. He was one of the first to join the awakening. Zethaerin bowed politely to the humans. "I must thank you," he said. "Your simple kindness to our ambassador changed the course of our entire civilization." "I just told her she looked beautiful," Jake said, feeling embarrassed. "Yes, but you meant it," Zethaerin replied. "You saw her not as an alien or a diplomatic contact, but as a person worthy of appreciation." That recognition awakened something in her that had been sleeping for 3,000 years. He gestured to the crowd of awakened Zephyrians. "And now, look what has grown from that one moment of genuine kindness. Hundreds of thousands of my people have chosen to feel again. We have artists creating the first Zephyrian paintings in millennia. We have musicians composing songs about joy and beauty. We have poets writing about love." Jake felt overwhelmed. "I never imagined that a simple compliment could do all this." "That is the power of human kindness," Cathara said. "You see beauty in others, and you are not afraid to share that observation. You connect with people on an emotional level. You make others feel valued and seen." "But we are not here just to thank you," Zethaerin said. "We are here to propose something new. An alliance between our peoples. The awakened Zephyrians have much to offer humanity, and we have much to learn from you." Captain Brooks looked interested. "What kind of alliance?" "We want to create mixed communities," Cathara explained. "Places where humans and awakened Zephyrians live and work together. We can share our technologies and our perspectives. We can learn from each other. Our logical abilities combined with your emotional intelligence could solve problems that neither species could handle alone." Zethaerin added, "We could explore the galaxy together, not as separate species, but as partners." Jake felt excited by the possibility. "What about the Zephyrians who chose not to awaken?" "They have their cities and their old ways," Cathara said. "We respect their choice, and they respect ours. Our planet is big enough for both approaches to life." Over the next few hours, Jake learned about all the changes on the Zephyrian homeworld. The awakened ones had built new cities, full of color and art. They had started schools where children learned both logic and emotion. They had created festivals celebrating beauty and creativity. But the most amazing change was in the Zephyrians themselves. They laughed and cried and hugged and sang. They had become, in the best sense of the word, more human while remaining uniquely themselves. As the day ended, Jake found himself alone with Cathara on the observation deck where it all began. Earth hung in space below them, beautiful and blue and alive. "Do you ever regret it?" Jake asked. "Choosing to feel? Choosing a harder path?" Cathara looked at him with eyes full of love and gratitude. "Never," she said firmly. "Before I met you, I existed, but I did not live. I thought, but I did not feel. I was a very sophisticated computer, but I was not truly alive." She took his hand in hers. "You gave me the greatest gift anyone can give another person. You gave me the ability to experience the full beauty of existence. You taught me that being alive is not just about thinking and analyzing. It is about feeling and connecting and caring." Jake squeezed her hand. "And you taught me something too. You taught me that kindness and beauty can change the world. That a simple, honest compliment can wake up an entire civilization." They stood together in comfortable silence, looking down at Earth. Around them, humans and awakened Zephyrians worked together, preparing for a future neither species could have imagined. "You know," Cathara said softly, "I still remember the exact moment you said those words to me. You look beautiful today. It was the moment I became real." Jake smiled. "And you are still beautiful. More beautiful than ever. As are you, Mai?" dear friend, as are you." The stars shone down on them as two species began their journey together into a future filled with logic and emotion, efficiency and beauty, thinking and feeling. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that Jake had always known but had never fully understood until now. Beauty shared is beauty multiplied. Kindness given is kindness returned. And sometimes the smallest gestures can change everything. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was beautiful.